And with us now, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Pat Leahy of Vermont. Well, Senator, you have said there ought to be some kind of a truth commission to look into all of this. President Obama says he's not for that. Senate Leader Harry Reid said he really doesn't have time for that. So are you rethinking that, or you still think that's what we ought to do?
No, I think we should do that, Bob. Every so often I disagree with President Obama and Harry Reid, but they're also keeping an open mind, and I commend them both for that. My idea is, instead of having 8 or 10 separate committees in the House and Senate do little parts of it. For example, in the Senate we have the Intelligence Committee doing part of it, the Judiciary Committee, which I chair, does part of it, Armed Service does part, Homeland Security, and so on. Why not have a nonpartisan or bipartisan commission do it, like we did in 9/11, and just go back and find everything that happened? I know some people say, let's turn the page. Frankly, I'd like to read the page before we turn it. It is not from some idea of vengeance in doing this, but we know that there were a number of people that made the decision to violate the law, a number of people who said that we don't have to follow our Constitution, others who wrote memos basically saying the president and the vice president are above the law. The laws of the United States don't apply to them like they do to you and me. And I want to know why they did that, what kind of pressure is brought them to write things that are so off the wall, and to make sure it never happens again. That's why I want it. Now, we will get the answers to all this, but you can do it piecemeal or all together. Last week on a bill that I've had before the Senate, John McCain and others supported a commission to look at what happened in the financial meltdown. I agree with them on that. I voted for that amendment. But just as important as losing our money, what happens when we lose our national honor? Well, that's what we should look at.
Let me just ask you about this part. I mean, is there anything else to know here?
Oh, yes. A lot is made of the fact that, well, we have the pictures from Abu Ghraib, we have the water board memos, we know that people did not tell the truth when they said we weren't doing that. We know they weren't telling the truth, and they said, well, you only had the water board once or twice, you got everything you needed. We know that's not the truth. But I want to know, who was it who made the decisions that we will violate our own laws, we'll violate our own treaties, we will even violate our own Constitution? That we don't know. We don't know what that chain of command was.
Well, is there the risk, I mean, and you know the argument, we've been hearing it all, that we somehow criminalize our political system? I mean, you know, in banana republics, one group throws out the other group, and they put them all in jail, and then they stay there till somebody else comes along and throws them in jail. But aren't we going down that kind of trail here?
I think not, and I've heard that talking point. This usually by people who are afraid they may be looked at are the ones making that argument. But I'm not out for some kind of vengeance. Certainly, if you have people in the field who are told, here are the orders from the White House, here is a legal memo telling you what to do and how to do it. Now, nobody's going to prosecute them, although I would note that when FBI agents were there and they saw what was being done, when they reported back to headquarters, FBI Director Mueller said, no, you can't do that. That violates our own rules. That violates our understanding of the law. You have to step back, and they did. So there were some who knew that. But what I want to know, who are the people in the Office of Legal Counsel, in the President's Counsel's Office, even in the Justice Department, who knew this was against the law and still told people to go and break the law? I'm more concerned about those people than I am going after somebody in the field.
What about somebody in Congress? We know that the ranking members and the chairman of the Intelligence Committees were apparently briefed on this. Apparently Nancy Pelosi was briefed on this. You going to go after them?
That's not the part I'm going after, but let me tell you this, the commission can look at that. If you had a bipartisan commission or a nonpartisan commission, they'll look at all those questions, and they'll look at the transcripts of what was said. As you know, there is a great deal of dispute as to what extent they were They were briefed, and the difficult thing of this, if you're in these briefings, is you can't talk about what's in the briefing.
So should you release all of that? I mean,
well, why not? I mean, so much of this stuff has been in the public domain now anyway. Senator McCain said one of the best tools in getting people to join Al-Qaeda was showing the pictures of Americans torturing people at Abu Ghraib. And as so many military have said, this didn't help us. It's not who we are. We shouldn't have been doing it. And I commend those people in our own military at the highest level who said it was a mistake.
Well, what about the suggestion that the vice president is now making, that more of these things be released so the American people will have a better idea of the results that they got?
Well, you know, I find this very interesting, considering the fact that the vice president didn't even want to admit that he was part of the three branches of government. He was saying that when people were asking questions, we're kind of a fourth branch, so we don't have to answer. I'd be delighted if he wants to come up and talk about it under oath. I'd be delighted to have Vice President Cheney come up and talk about it.
Under oath?
Under oath.
But not if he refused to do it under oath?
No.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you plan to hold hearings yourself in the Judiciary Committee?
We have held a number of hearings already in the Judiciary Committee. A lot of the initial parts of the legal memorandum came out because of the hearings we've held in the Judiciary Committee. As you know, those Judiciary Committees brought about basically the firing of the then Attorney General and several of the people at the top level of the Justice Department. We're now reviewing all these OLC memos, both in the redacted and unredacted part. I'll continue to do it, but that's the problem. We're only part of it. The Intelligence Committee is part of it. Armed Services is part of it. We can spend the rest of the year, each one of us doing little pieces. It's sort of like the committee, the blind committee that tried to describe an elephant. We should do it all.
But let me ask you this, and we're totally out of time, so a short answer. In your investigation, do you plan to try to get the vice president to come, or would you subpoena him? No.
No, I think I will not. We'll get all the information, and we don't need. He can go on his talk shows and do a post-mortem thing, but no.
No. All right.
Thank you,
Senator. Thank you so much.